Hello and welcome to this training sponsored by FallSafeUSA entitled All Retractables Are Not Created Equal. The purpose of this training is to highlight some of the differences that exist amongst different types of retractable lifelines, talk about why those differences exist, and what are the right products to look for when choosing a retractable. Also, as part of this training, we'll be highlighting FallSafe's new FSP line of retractables that do meet the most recent ANSI standards. But before we get into the standard itself, it's important to understand why FallSafe created a new line of retractables. Why did we have to create FSP? The first reason we had to create FSP is that there are varied needs in the market. Many of you work at heights that are 80, 90 feet in the air, and some of you work only 8 or 9 feet in the air. In both those situations, a fall hazard exists. As a result, your jobs are much different, and also you have varied needs. The second reason that we created FSP is that there are a lot of misconceptions in the market. Many of you who have bought retractable lifelines over the years may have thought that your retractable would just automatically stop you within a few inches. Many times you might have heard the phrase that a retractable works like a seatbelt. These are misconceptions in that retractables typically do not work that way. And then the third reason is also differentiation. Obviously, we want to create a product that's better. We want to create a product that does what you expect it to do and also performs the way you expect it to perform. And then the last reason was literally a regulatory change, and that regulatory change was ANSI Z359.14 2012. It was adopted in October 2012, and this standard deals specifically with the performance of self-retracting lifelines and self-retracting devices. To get in and really understand what the new standard says, though, it's important to understand what the old standard was. And the previous standard that dealt with retractable lifeline performance, or a part of it rather, was ANSI Z359.1 2007. And the main component, or the main bullet point of that standard as it dealt with retractable lifelines, was that retractable lifelines were allowed a maximum arrest distance of up to 42 inches. And maximum arrest distance includes your free fall plus the amount of distance or length that the retractable pays out in order to stop your fall and arrest your fall. So when you look at that 42-inch arrest distance, as many of you know, that is equal to or almost equal to what a traditional shock absorbing lanyard's performance would be. So while many people bought retractable lifelines that met this standard, the actual performance that they were measured against didn't necessarily match up with what the customer's expectations may have been. So as a result, ANSI wrote .14 2012. And one of the first things they addressed under this new standard, amongst other things, was the maximum arrest distance, or what we would refer to as MAD or MAD. And they broke that arrest distance out into two categories, or two buckets, if you will. The first of those is a Class A bucket, or Class A retractable, which is allowed a maximum arresting distance of 24 inches and a maximum average force of 1,350 pounds. So when you think about a retractable lifeline, this 24-inch arrest distance is really closer to what the expectations by you, the customer, should be and quite frankly are. The second bucket that ANSI developed was Class B. That allows for a maximum arrest distance of up to 54 inches or a maximum average force of 900 pounds. Under both of these classifications, or buckets if you will, the maximum force allowed on the worker is still 1,800 pounds. However, when you look at these two arrest distances, that's a 30-inch difference. So many of you may be or have been using retractables under the old standard of 42, or you may be using a retractable that meets Class B under 54. Why is this so important? Many falls occur between 10 and 13 feet in the air. That can be the difference between a Class A and B. So it's very important to understand how your retractable will perform. The second part of the new ANSI standard is what's called a load impact indicator, and we'll show you an example of that in just a minute. But the load impact indicator literally tells you when the unit has been in a fall. This is important in that many times someone may take a fall in a retractable and decide not to report that for a number of various reasons. However, it's critical to understand that that unit has been in a fall such that it can be re-inspected and repaired if needed. So load impact indicators are required on all units meeting the 0.14 2012 standard. The third part of this is what's called leading edge, or LE. Leading edge is very important to many of you who are listening to this training today. And as you know, leading edge is literally when you're working over or at a fall hazard that you could fall over the edge, and the cable or web of that retractable could be put under friction and under force by that edge. For the first time ever, ANSI has established testing guidelines to meet a new LE standard. Units manufactured under the old standard did not have a testing guideline established by ANSI for LE. So this is the first time that LE has ever been addressed within any retractable standard. And then the last part of the standard deals with inspection guidelines. Over the years, inspection of retractable lifelines has changed. However, ANSI established a more formatted and table version of inspection, which we think is a little bit easier to read and understand. And that table is really geared towards the usage of that product. As you see on the screen in front of you, you have 4 columns moving left to right that address types of use, application examples, conditions of use, the inspection frequency of a competent person, and a factory authorized inspection. Very quickly, I want to identify the 2 differences in the last 2 columns. As you all know, part of your requirements within your fall protection program is to have on staff or access to a competent person. And usually that competent person needs to be someone other than the user of that product. The next to last column there deals with that competent person performing an inspection based on conditions of use. Many of FallSafe's customers fall in the severe to continuous use category, which means a competent inspection needs to be done quarterly to semi-annually. The last column, factory authorized inspection, deals specifically with an inspection procedure process that has been deemed appropriate and authorized and approved by us, the manufacturer, that happens in addition to the competent inspection. So staying within our severe to continuous row, that factory authorized inspection would happen at least annually, but not longer than the intervals required by us, the manufacturer. And we stand behind the annual guideline as set forth by ANSI, which means either FallSafe themselves or an authorized FallSafe repair center would do that inspection. Now, that's a quick few-minute tour through the new ANSI standard. Now the question is, how do we put products in your hands as users that actually meet that standard? So within the new FSP line, and any retractable lifeline that has that FSP logo, as you see in the upper right corner, meets the new ANSI standard, either Class A or Class B. We have a wide array of different links that are available that start all the way from 7 foot of web and go all the way up to 75 feet of cable. We also have units that are available in stainless steel cable. We also have dual or 100% tie-off units with traditional snap hooks, rebar hooks, tie-back hooks, and we also have a line of LE retractables as well. A couple features within our units. As we've already mentioned, there are several unique features that deal with the standard, but also within that is the indicator hook, which we mentioned was a requirement under the new standard. That's a fall indicator. That's on every unit of FSP. The second feature that we put on this unit is not necessarily required by ANSI, but we do think that it adds to the overall life and performance of the unit. As you all know, data is critical with retractable lifelines, and 2 very important pieces of data is the serial number of the unit as well as the date of manufacturer. We embed both those pieces of information either into the top or the bottom of the housing depending on the unit. This allows, in the instance, as you guys know is quite common, when a label becomes distorted or illegible, that information is still on the housing. Now, we highly encourage you to still replace that label, but those 2 critical pieces of information can still go with the retractable regardless of the condition of the label. Speaking of the label, one thing that that ANSI really improved upon was communicating this information to you, the customer. Under the old standard, maximum arrest distances, free falls, forces, etc., did not necessarily have to be reported on the label as long as it was reported somewhere. Under the new standard, it's not only reported within the label, within the text sheet, within the instructions, but also within the label, you have to provide for the classification of the unit. For instance, the label you're looking at on your screen, in the 1 o'clock sector of that label, you'll see SRD Class A. Also, we have to highlight the standard. You'll notice in the 11 o'clock portion of that label, meets ANSI Z359.14 2012. And then down about 8 o'clock, we also have to list the arrest distance. And in this case, being a Class A unit now, as you know, that arrest distance is 24 inches. So the FSP line meets not only the new standard, but we've also built in features into it that make it durable, that make it easy to read, that make it easy to see in the case of a fall. Also, what we want to do is communicate which of our units are Class A and which are Class B. So we have separate marketing pieces. This is highlighted within flyers on our website, FallSafeUSA.com, as well as in our product catalog that we mention our Class A units. Our current Class A offering starts at 7 foot of web. It includes 11 foot of web, 11 foot of cable, 20 foot of cable. So that gives you multiple links, multiple scenarios, and 2 different materials that can meet that Class A standard, and we are constantly testing new units and new links to meet that Class A standard as well. Once you get beyond 20 feet, we have a whole lineup of units that meet the Class B standard, and those range from 30 to 75 feet. Again, this information is available in our product catalog, various trade resources, as well as our website, FallSafeUSA.com. Another big part of what we do is we also want to educate. So we have multiple flyers out there, multiple training aids that we can provide you to work with your staff to train on these standards so that when your associates look at a unit and see Class A or they see Class B, they can easily and quickly identify what that unit will do if it's in a fall. Furthermore, we promote this via video through our YouTube channel. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search FallSafeUSA.com, and several different training resources will come up that reflect what we have taught today. Thank you very much for attending this seminar. As always, if you have any questions, please log on to FallSafeUSA.com and hit contact us, and we look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.